Welcome to another episode of the Tower 26B Race Here podcast. I'm Jim Litsky here with Coach Gerry Rodriguez. Coach, how you doing today?
All right. I'm okay. How you doing?
That doesn't sound too convincing.
You know, yeah, thanks for moving that. A lot on my mind, so much so I didn't even have the mic close to me. A lot on my mind. I'm frustrated.
Oh, boy, we're going to get into it here.
Well, you know, a couple things on my mind, and I want to talk about them and you know, hopefully encourage some changes.
Well, these are the fun episodes because we get into the mind that is Gerry Rodriguez. We appreciate this. You can give all the technique tips in the world, but when we want to hear the real, raw, unfiltered Rodriguez, these are the ones that these listeners love to tune into.
Well, I don't do too often, but, you know, when you see, you know, Jim, you're a parent, right? And as a parent, you know, sometimes you got to make tough decisions, and they're going to be things that you're going to have to say to your kids or disciplines that you're going to have to impose upon them that it's hard to do, right?
Oh, yeah.
You're going to see them not feel good about it, and I feel that there's some things I want to say that it's not going to make some folks feel good, but it needs to motivate change. So change needs to happen.
So we're getting endurance sport advice and parenting advice on this episode.
Well, you know, I'm drawing an analogy. Hopefully, when you give some advice to your kids or you do the disciplining, it motivates change, right? So hopefully here that it encourages some change in some of the things we're going to talk about.
Well, we'll get to that in a second, but I want to talk about me Can I talk about me for 1 second?
Do we have a nut?
Can I bring myself into it? So I went and rode a couple weeks ago. I was out riding stunt over here. It's a climb. It's a 4-mile climb. It's about 1,300 feet of elevation over 4 miles.
Very famous ride, by the way.
Very famous. Yeah, we're hoping that the road racing in the Olympics goes up our beautiful climbs that are right outside our door right here. And stunt would be one of them because it goes straight up 4 miles, 1,300 feet. And I'm climbing and I'm thinking, man, I'm putting out a lot of strength, but I'm going nowhere, right? I'm used to climbing this thing in 22, 23 minutes, and I'm at 29 minutes getting to the top. And so I go home and I say, what the heck? I'm fit, I'm strong, I'm feeling good, but I was not. I got on the scale, Jer. I'm 201 pounds.
Oh!
201.
You eat one of the kids for dinner? What'd you do?
It's 15, 16 pounds above my race weight, right? You know, we've been having a good time coaching our athletes, you know.
You've been hanging around me too long.
Well, Emily's telling me not to eat candy before bed, and I have totally disregarded that because I enjoy it, but... So let's back up. I'm gonna go back into the history of Lubinsky.
You're in my weight range now.
So we used to go. Yeah. Well, I'm trying to be like Coach, right? I'm always trying to tip of the spear. I'm trying to follow. But we used to, when I was playing ice hockey in college, right? We play through the season, then we go home for the summer. And some guys we go home from the summer. Some guys would come back and they had partaken in festivities over the summer where they come back a little chunky. So what our coach would implement, our strength coach, Mark Spellman, amazing strength coach, one of my mentors in strength training. The guy taught me a lot over the years. He would implement fat camp. Am I allowed to say this now in today's day and age, fat camp?
Hey, it sounds like you're allowed to do a lot of things today.
So what would happen is the guys who are a little chunky coming back to camp, they would do the regular training, but they would have to wake up at 4:30 in the morning, go run, and then after dinner, they'd have to go back to the gym and run again, so they have to lose those extra pounds. Gerry, I am putting myself in the fat camp going forward. How's that sound?
Well, to me that sounds good, but any sort of camp you go into, fat camp, skinny camp, whatever you want to call it, you need camp accountability. So what is going to be, or whom is going to be your accountable person?
I think that guy's sitting right next to me.
I was sort of prodding you along. Maybe I'm the guy. By the way, so when I went over the 200, right, here's what happened. I didn't even know I was over 200 because sometimes I step on the scale, I don't even really pay attention to it. It's my wife who, apparently there was an app tied to the scale, and she was able to see.
Getting updates, and there's a little ding that goes off.
You talk about
it's like the when they get it wrong on The Price is Right, it just the little thing on the phone goes dong 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 dong, that bummer sound. Well, so I'm gonna be in fat camp. I'm gonna start texting you my weight maybe weekly, so we can bring me back down the race weight. I can go to Nice, I can go to Arizona, have some success out there, and not feel like I'm carrying an anvil on my back as we go to the top.
Yeah, but you know what? You're looking good.
That's what's
you know, because so many
I
endurance athletes almost get too lean, right? And it's not a healthy look for many. And you look good. I mean, you
healthy,
look.
Right?
I mean, you're a big guy. You're 6'3". You're, 200 pounds on you is, I'm a short guy.
Well.
So 200 pounds with me. I'm a square. You're a triangle.
Oh, you squat. Start calling him Squat Rodriguez.
SpongeBob.
SpongeBob. All right, well, that's a light note. So we're going to, Lubinsky's going into fat camp. So let's get into, what did we talk about last episode? Let's touch on that before we get into the topic of this episode.
Well, we talked about our, moving into our sharpening phase, right? The 5 phases of Tower 26, where we go from our recovery phase and, recovery and technique phase into our base building. Coach Jack likes to call it, what's Coach Jack's word? Capacity improvement. And then now we have transitioned into our sharpening phase, and it's a very, very short phase. So we went into some detail on that, and we talked about the tempo trainer, which I brought one today for us to see, so you can actually see what this looks like, and I'll go over in a little bit of detail to help you use it.
And we actually got some questions on YouTube about the tempo trainer. So if you guys were live on YouTube right now, if you have questions while we're recording, shoot the questions in. I was just bringing it up. I have it right here. We'll get to those questions live if you write them while you're watching here. Otherwise, we'll get them to you answered next episode if you ask after the fact. So good informational stuff there and stuff to really dial into. It's hard sometimes to deal with that type of detail, that type of presence. I'm not going to use the tempo trainer. It's just another thing. But you really spoke through why we should dial into that and be using that tool to our advantage to make us better swimmers and better open water swimmers. So if you guys haven't listened to that episode or watched it on YouTube, go do that and learn from it. Take notes.
And in fact, to punctuate that point, at the end of our workout this morning, Jim, as you know, we have 2 sessions back-to-back at our El Segundo location. And at the end of the second session, I pulled the group together to tell a story of, this was a little before the 2016 Olympics, the Rio Olympics. You might remember these guys, the Grimsy Brothers. Trent,
I know the name.
Grimsy Brothers, Australian kids, tall, lanky guys that were super fast, right? So they came and they swam with us at Tower 26 at our beach workouts for a number of sessions. And Trent, the older brother, there was a 10K that I was watching him. So 10K, by the way, you guys, is the Olympic marathon distance in swimming, 10 kilometers. It takes approximately the same time, close to the same time as the marathon in running. It's about 2 hours at the elite men's level for running, 2:10 now for women. It's crazy how fast women marathon running. Swimming, it's about, depending on the course, similar to running, conditions have a tremendous impact on course. But an hour and 50 minutes-ish for men, 2 hours-ish for women. So Trent, this was a race I remember watching. Got a clip of it somehow. Maybe Steve Minotonis sent it to me or so. And it was either 4 or 5 loops of, it would have been 5 loops if it was 2 kilometers loops, or 4 loops if it was 2.5K. I don't remember. But it was 4 or 5 loops, and it was they would have to exit each loop as a very, very short run and then re-enter the water, which we don't see too much in swimming. We see this in triathlon, right? In ITU races, we even see it in a few Ironman races, but we don't really see this in swimming. But they had this in this particular race, and I believe it was down in South America. And to the point of tempo trainer, it was a big pack at the front, maybe 15, could be as high as 20 guys in the front pack. And let's make, for the purpose of this discussion, make it 4 loops at 2.5K, since I can't recall if it was 4 or 5 loops, but let's say it was 4 loops. At the end of the 3rd loop, they exit the water and the pack is together, okay? And Trent made a move. He made he obviously premeditated this, ahead. Got back into the water and accelerated, had a quick run in between to get a tad of a lead, and then hopped into the water and started a much higher pace. And how did he achieve that? Their cadence rates on the first 3 kilometers were in the range of mid-70s to very low 80s, okay? So 72, 74 to 82 strokes a minute, all of them, including Trent. Then they made the transition and they hit the last 2.5K. So it's still 2,500 meters to swim, okay?
Yeah.
Right, which is more than a half Ironman swim. Half Ironman is 2,000 meters, right? So it's 25% more than a half Ironman swim. Remember, they were going 72 to 82 strokes a minute, approximately. Trent immediately ignites up to 96 strokes a minute.
Wow.
Because I saw the change immediately, and I saw the breakaway, the move, the lateral move to get some distance, and then the high cadence turnover. So what do? The geek that I am, I went and found my tempo trainer, and I turned it on, and I started moving the buttons to navigate and get his stroke rate. 96 strokes a minute,
Wow.
which he sustained for the entire 2.5K and broke away from the pack, and they weren't able to run him down. Now, you saw the pack also ignite. Their cadence rates went up also. They were then in the low 80s, mid 80s. A couple were low 90s, but no one was able to match his cadence, his high turnover, right? Why? Most likely, don't know for sure, but most likely they didn't train at those rates.
Yeah.
And he did, and that was one of the reasons for his victory.
Yeah, we talk about tools in the toolbox all
Yes.
the time. On the bike, we talk about it in the run. Same thing in the swim. You can't just be one speed Joe, and not just the same turnover over and over. You have to be able to go fast. You have to be able to slow it down. Add those tools to your toolbox. You never know when you're going to need to pull them out.
And for you, so you guys are out there, and Coach Jack, in his case, Jack's daughter, Eva Fabian, who I'd worked with Jack helping Eva won the World Championships in 5 kilometers and has won many 10-kilometer World Championship women water races. Eva sustains a stroke rate of 100 strokes a minute for 10 kilometers.
Jeez.
So this is doable. So when people are whining in workouts, oh, you mean you're making me go at 80 strokes a minute? Come on, for 10 seconds?
Yeah.
There are people doing it for 2 hours.
Work the tools in your toolbox.
Yeah.
Get out of your comfort zone. Do it right.
Yeah.
All right, so we're going to talk about this episode.
Well, I thought we'd review a few things that are happening in the sport. As you know, right now we're in the first week of May. So something's happening in our part of the world in the sense of it's the beginning. Races are, the calendar is opening up. We have starting to have races now almost every weekend, right? So as you know, the calendar in the Northern Hemisphere, we sort of run May through October, right?
Yep.
And sort of a bell-shaped curve. A lot of the fat part of the curve is right there. And then less and less races, November, December, Jan, Feb, and so on. But they are races, but they're just not as many. But right now, we're moving into race season. So the first race of the professional series, the T100, right?
Yep.
Is that the professional men and women's field, right?
Singapore, right?
It was in Singapore a week or two ago. So I went through the results. I don't know if you have those. I may have sent you
Let me see if I can
image
pull
of
it
those.
up. Let me see if I can pull it up. What were we going to show on that?
Well, I sent you, I think, the top 10 results. Yeah, there you go. Perfect. If you can pull that up, that would be extraordinary. These are the top 10 finishers, top men.
There we go.
10 finishers. See if you can scroll up to the top there.
I can't scroll up to the top. You get a good grasp of where we're at here, yeah.
So what I'm showing here, I circled Sam Long, we've talked about on here prior with Sam Long, tremendous athlete. In fact, if you look across that red circle that I have there, look all the way to the right, you'll see Sam's run time of 61:55, right? That was his run split.
All moving, yeah.
Look at the guy below him. Newt, who's won a few races in America last year, right?
Yeah.
And the year before, 107. Look above Sam, 103.56, 105, 103.49. I mean, Sam had one of the fastest runs. In fact, he had the second or third fastest run. The winner, Hayden Weil, I think it was Hayden Weil or Boyd?
I think Hayden Wild, yeah.
Whoever won, I probably have that somewhere to make sure that I get the facts right on that race. But the thing is, the winner of that race ran approximately the same time as Sam. So Sam's run, Jim, is extraordinary. Yeah, Hayden Weil was
101.46.
Yep. 101.46. Leo Berger, incredible runner, 102.09, right? And then Yuri ran 101.48. So your top 3 fastest runs in 61 minutes, right? So, and as we all know, Sam has an incredible bike strength.
Yeah.
But what do we see there in the swim?
Massive coming back, lost the pack, and
29 minutes.
29
How do you
almost 5 minutes back?
Look at everyone around him: 24:30, 24:33, 24:35, 24:31.
Yeah, that was just that one big pack.
24:30 to 29 minutes, Jim.
Yeah.
If I do the math right, is 20% variance. 20%. At the elite level, you're looking for less than 5% variances, because what makes the difference between good and great are 1%ers, right?
Yep.
You cannot have a 20% differential. What is Sam Long doing or not doing?
It seems like what he's not doing is what's important. What is he not doing that everyone else is doing, or what does he need to be doing to catch up to those guys that are 5 minutes ahead of him?
What is it, and we talked about this with Lionel Sanders on the last podcast a bit. I think we had his.
Yeah.
Or did we talk about that podcast, or did we talk about it on our 2 p.m. call?
Oh God, I get them all mixed up. We have too much media going on here.
Oceanside, Lionel was also approximately 3 or 4 minutes down on the swim.
Yeah.
It was one of his worst swims at Oceanside. here are these bike runner guys that are so incredibly strong and apparently, and I'm using the word apparently, ignoring by 20%, ignoring their weakness.
Yeah. So what's the answer? What should they be doing?
Well, I don't know what they should be doing because I don't know what
Swimming
they are
Tower
doing.
26, that's the answer.
Well, that's one, but I don't know what they are doing. But I can tell you this. Their result dictates that whatever they are doing they're doing it incorrectly.
Yeah.
Okay? Or somehow it's not converting to event day. You cannot be 29 minutes is a pedestrian women's time.
So if
29 minutes, Jim, is a pedestrian age group time, anyone under 40 years old.
So we know that probably was high water temperature was probably in the 80s, right? Singapore. Water temperature was in the 80s.
Where does Sam live?
Right. I don't know.
I think he lives in Arizona, so you're used to warm weather and warm water.
Right. So we're thinking like that's a huge delta. I mean, 29 minutes versus 24 minutes at that level, that is a huge difference.
So here's the message. You guys that are out there with weak relative performance times in your swim, it's one sport, 3 events, swim, bike, run. Mac Dixon likes to say that, swim, bike, run. It's not swimming and biking and running. It's swim, bike, run. And that first segment is important, especially at the professional level. So even at the age group level, you guys that have weaknesses, we had a few athletes that I recall that were with us that had incredible, in fact, I'm thinking of one right now who I'll leave nameless, who had an incredible British guy, incredible biking strength. Around age grouper, 45 to 49 age group-ish, I think, would ride consistently in the low 220s, high 219, 18s, half Ironman, had a decent run, but was a 37, 38-minute swimmer. Yeah. He was always looking for the extra 1%. That's what I heard. 1%. I'm looking for the extra 1%, but he wouldn't swim. So you're going to get 1% where? Out of a 219 ride, you're already the fastest age grouper on the bike. To go from 39, Jim, to 32 minutes, 33, which he's capable of, 15 or 20%, there's your 1% overall, easily.
People are just, they don't put it all together. You see it time and time and time again that they don't think of it like that. They think, oh, I want to show everybody how strong I'm on the bike, but what are you coming in overall? What are we there for? You want to do bike races? You want to do triathlon, right? You want to go do bike races? Go do bike races. But if you want to do a triathlon, you got to put your effort in all 3. And if someone like Sam or someone like this guy you're talking about put a little more focus on the swim, did the right exercises out of the swim, did their stretch cords, spent 3, 4, 5 days in the water doing different types of, and taking a little less biking, a little less running, knowing, hey, I have confidence in that. Let me build up this end of it so I'm the complete athlete. They're going to see different results, but a lot of them are just unwilling to take that quote-unquote risk that they're going to back off their bike and not be as strong as they were.
You sound like my dad, George Rodriguez, okay? Georgie, that everybody likes to call him. And just good old wisdom. And we're not suggesting that you need to be first out of the water, or you need to be in the top 5. It's not what we're saying, but you can't be like that screenshot you had up there just now, Jim. You can't be 29 minutes in a 24-minute pack and expect to be in the top 3.
And that's the thing. I mean, he made his way up to 7th or 8th place, wherever it was there, but I just think you take a little less time on the bike. You spend a little more time focused on the small things. We talk about our 2 p.m. call every week. Jack always brings up the small things, the little bit of engagement in the scapula, a little bit of scapular mobility, a little bit of core strength, how it can make such a difference in your overall time, in your overall structure. But it's not just go and swim yards when you're at the level like Sam. You got to do all the little things, and it takes time to do those little things, and it's not sexy. You don't put the YouTube video up of you just doing your stretch cords, but those things add up. Those little things add up. Then he goes from 29 to 27, 27 to 26, 26 to 25, and eventually he can hang on the back of that lead pack. But it takes time, and it takes complete focus and attention to detail, session after session after session.
Here's my advice, Sam Long. If you listen to this, or you've heard of this, or somebody sends this to you, there are enough coaches in the world that I am sure will give you free advice. Listen to them, because whatever you're doing right now, buddy, it ain't working.
He's getting better at doing his YouTube video. He's trying to go 1-for-1 versus his other buddy over there in Tucson.
All right, let's move to Did you watch any of the pro swimming last weekend in Fort Lauderdale?
I did watch a little of it. I watched some replays. It was, this is what we've been talking about the last few years. And now I think everything you've been saying is coming to fruition of these insane times that are coming across the board. I know you want to touch on a few different topics here, but I've just the big picture, the times that these athletes are swimming right now, it is next level.
I think exactly the reshaping of the season, how coaches are looking at training their athletes, how their rest is being more carefully incorporated, less travel. Pandemic taught us something, and athletes are performing extraordinarily well. Katie Ledecky, okay?
Oh, God, that was just a slaughter.
2016, 17, 18, those were Katie Ledecky's years of absolute dominance. That dominance has continued, but that's when she set her world records in swimming, 400, 800, 1,500-meter world records. And at one time, I think she was the American record holder, I believe, if not national champion at a minimum, in the 200 freestyle. So she dominated the 2-minute event, the 4-minute event, the 8-minute event, the 16-minute event for the 1,500, except she took it to 15 minutes. So like most athletes, you climb the curve, you make it to the top, and then when you get that good, you sort of sit up there for a while, and then the decline starts, right?
Yeah.
As your career starts winding down. She's been close to 10 years at that top and leading the world. And, last Olympics and the prior Olympics, lost a couple of races, won still several races, several gold medals at the Olympics, but she got some silvers and bronze, right? Well, this last weekend, Katie Ledecky was a couple of tenths off of her national record in the 400 freestyle, very, very close to it. She was 5 seconds or 6 seconds faster than she swam at the Olympics last year. Then she swam, or the first race she swam was the 1,500. She went 15:24. You guys, let me put this into perspective. A couple of years ago, Lucy Charles swam a 1,500 at one of the British meets. I'm not sure what the reason was she swam it, but she was closer to 17 minutes.
Lucy Charles, one of the fastest swimmers in triathlon.
Yes. Lucy Charles would have been lapped a minimum of twice, okay, in a 50-meter pool by Katie Ledecky. 15:24. Jim, in my era of swimming, when I was back when, if you went 15:24 in the men's race, you're likely in the top 3 of any male finisher.
We're talking 100 meters.
100
about
meters.
101 per 100 meters for 1,500 meters.
101 plus. Yeah, exactly. 101 plus, 101,
100
102.
meters, not
100
yards.
meters.
A lot of you use over stateside. You're all yards. We're meters. That's adding, 14 seconds per 100 for you?
Unfreaking believable, right?
Yeah.
So the world record's 15:20. She went 15:24. And then she closes the meet out in the 800, breaking her world record. Setting a new standard, 803, 804, whatever it is, she went. Now, let's get down to some details with Katie Ledecky, since we're talking about tempo trainers. And stroke rate,
bring it back.
okay?
Like a great host, you always bring it back.
Katie, so, the geek in me pulls up my tempo trainer, and I'm checking her 200 or 400 or 800 or 1,500. Her lowest cadence rate in any of those events, 88 strokes a minute.
Wow.
Going up to 94, 95 strokes per minute in her 400 freestyle on the last 100, when she had to come from behind to beat Grimes. So 94, 95 strokes per minute. But how do you get there? You have to train for that, right? But again, high cadence. And what's pretty extraordinary about Katie Ledecky, Katie's like you. Katie is not a little girl.
No.
Katie is 6 feet tall, 60, 65 pounds. She's a big, strong, pretty muscular gal. For an endurance athlete, this is a big athlete with good muscle mass, which is unusual. You see leaner athletes swimming the 1,500.
Did you count how many strokes it was taking her to do each 50?
39, 40 strokes consistently. Interestingly, at the last Olympic Games, I checked, of course, these are the things I do in my spare time, right? She had races where she was 41 and 42 strokes a length. I think that there's some more efficiency to her stroke now, and her cadence is good, and she's swimming as well as she ever has. In fact, better in one event, breaking her own world record of several years ago.
What did you say her stroke rate was?
Stroke rate ranges from 88 to 95 strokes a minute.
88 to 95 at 39 to 40 strokes per 50 meters, right?
Yes.
So she's grabbing the water every single stroke. She's not spinning her wheels. We could say, okay, go to a 90 stroke rate, but in a 50-meter pool, you up your you up your length, your strokes per length to 70, right? So she's picking up the stroke rate, but she's also keeping a grip on the water. So that's one thing we have to remember. We have a question from YouTube that we're going to go over shortly.
Yeah.
We have to bring the stroke rate up, but we also have to remember we have to keep a grip on the water. We're not just spinning the wheels. She's gripping the water as she's increasing the stroke rate.
Good water purchase and just good sensible swimming. So it's great to see. So I want to say congratulations to her coaches, whatever changes you guys have implemented with her in the last several months since the Olympics. It's working. Keep it up.
Keep it up. There you go. Well, we know Katie listens, so she swims in the Palisades pool when she's in town. Well,
yeah, she does.
She did swim there, but yeah.
And then one final thing, Jim. So I watched, I don't know if you saw this, the 100 butterfly for women.
Yeah,
now, what does this have to do with triathlon? This is just fun stuff. But you'll get those of us that are older in my age range, you don't even have to be my age. You can go down to your age and older. You heard of the name Mark Spitz.
He was on the show.
We had Mark on the show.
I call him Spitzy. He's on here. We're buddies.
We had Mark on the show. 7 Olympic gold medals, 7 world records, never been done since. Yes, Michael Phelps has more gold medals, but he did not break 7 world records in any one Olympiad. So Spitz still holds the sort of pinnacle of success there. Mark Spitz, in 1972, did something that hasn't been done since. He won the 100 butterfly by over 2 seconds. 100 meters, okay? These are races that are won by hundreds of seconds, tenths of seconds. He won by over 2 seconds. He beat the field. It was a complete slaughter. Mm-hmm. Gretchen Walsh did that last weekend, won the 100 butterfly by over 2 seconds. On her way to doing that, guys, she broke the world record and set a time of 54.6 or 54.5 seconds. Jim, 3/10 or 4/10 of a second only slower than what Mark Spitz did in 1972. Man.
Wow. Wow. That is, and you think about 2 seconds. Yeah, 2 seconds, that's not much time, but it's on 100 meters. That's it.
At that level, they're 2 body lengths behind.
Yeah, I mean, that's 2 seconds is huge. That's a 50, would you say your time was 56?
54.
54.
54 and a half
touch the wall,
seconds.
54, 1,000, 2, 1,000. Next person touches the wall. That's a huge amount of time in 100 meters.
At that speed.
Yeah.
And back to Ledecky, the time that she did, Jim, in the 800 freestyle, she would have placed 3rd in the men's event.
Yep.
Could you imagine going to a track meet and looking at a race on the track and seeing a girl in the men's field and the girl getting 3rd overall?
Well,
that is what she did.
This shows us how important efficiency is in swimming. It's
Yes.
not about how strong you are or how big your muscles are, how much power you have. It's how that tautness, that alignment, and how much purchase you have on that water allows you to keep those type of speeds. If you're just going lifting weights and thinking that that's going to help you be a better swimmer, that's not the case. Look at Katie Ledecky swimming the similar speeds to the men on the top end because of the efficiency she's implementing in her swim.
So, what's part of the message here, and why is Katie Ledecky important to us as triathletes? At the end of the day, we do need higher cadence rates. And we need it specifically for open water because it's a tool that is necessary to have as a weapon, a tool, another opportunity to be able to access if needed. Sometimes you might get flat water, no wind, your lake-like conditions, pool-like conditions for open water race, but those are rare. Most times, because there are a lot of folks around, it's choppier. If you get any sort of wind, it's super bumpy. You need to have in your arsenal the ability to pull out that tool, that weapon, and engage higher cadence while, to your point, having good purchase on the water still, right?
Right. So if you want a tempo trainer, the swimmall.com, you can get your tempo trainer there and all the rest of the Tower 26 equipment we use on deck. So the swimmall.com. Before we get into the next topic, I want to talk about precision hydration. I have this bottle right here, and what this came with the Flow 300 gel, and I take credit for them developing the Flow 300 gel. Because what it does, if you see, it has the grams of carbs. As you fill this up with their product called Flow 300, it has how many grams of carbs you've ingested if this is filled to the top with that Flow 300. So how many grams of carbs do they typically say? Anywhere from 60 to 90 grams an hour for most athletes. Is that right?
Yeah, Jim, I can't even get this off my mind. I want you to continue, but before I forget, because when you get old, you forget. When they have a name like the Flow 300, you get to my age, all you think about, anything that has good flow, is I'm envious of the Flow 300, okay?
Should I shoot it? Should I shoot it? Shoot it out, show you the flow of this thing? Unless you're Cam Worf at Ironman Texas, he took 200 grams of carbs an hour on the bike. But this tells you how many grams you're taking. So what I always suggest to our athletes is put all your gels in one bottle. You put all your gels in one bottle, then you're not ripping gels. And because this bottle that they give you with the Flow 300 has how many grams of carbs you're ingesting per squirt, you know exactly where you're at.
I like it.
Now, I told them to formulate something like this because I had always filled all my gels in one bottle.
Got it.
Right? So I have all my gels in the bottle between my legs. I shoot that every 20 minutes, and then I sip on their 1,500 electrolyte solution in between that. So you're getting your electrolytes in the front, carbohydrates in the bottom. So that Flow 300 gel is huge.
Tower 26 getting a little 10% off of that?
The Tower 26 is doing pretty well from Precision Hydration. So and we're getting 15% off to anybody. TW 2025. 15% off TW 2025. Or just click the links in our show notes, and that will take you there and apply the 15% off to your account. But
so do you? I haven't spoken to Cam since Texas, but good segue into Cam's 353.
I spoke to Cam a lot afterwards.
Is that a new Ironman course record?
Ironman bike course record.
What's his what did he have to say?
He said that he felt great. He felt extremely strong. He finally put together a race. The first few races, he got a flat. He had some other things going on, a lot of travel. So he finally got to a race where he could lay down a good bike split. The thing about Texas is it's a frustrating bike course because there's no getting away. You can go 353 and there's no way to pedal away from anybody because even though you're not drafting, you still have that carrot in front of you to key in on, so they can go one guy after another after another. They have a group of 20 guys. You can pull to the front. There's no way to pull away.
Got it.
When you get some undulation in the course, then you have an ability to put in some extra power and make that break from the group.
But he had to climb up the pack, though, because he was a few minutes, I think he was, 4 minutes back out of the swim in the Ironman swim. No wetsuit, which is quite good for him.
Yeah, that was great. He had a good swim.
So he climbed up, but he had to climb through the field. So he was pulling guys along with him, I presume?
Totally. He pulled guys up, and then getting onto the run, he just burned so many matches. He had a great run. I mean, 250 run, and the 250 run, he dropped down to 8th place with a 250 run. Well, right? That's how fast these guys are running.
234 by Christian B, right?
He was 250. You look at a 250 run 10 years ago, that's the fastest run in the race. I ran for 250 at Ironman Cabo in 2013, 2014, and I was the fastest run in the race by a couple minutes.
You had several fastest Ironman runs.
But now, I mean, these guys are running so fast that he ran at 250 and he fell to 8th place. But we were just talking about some strategy going forward and, the types of courses now that he has this type of confidence that he's still one of the strongest cyclists in the sport. He hasn't taken a step back with, age. Right, he's still a strong guy. He's got that confidence.
He's above 40, right?
You go into a race like Lake Placid, you go to Nice where he can make that break and it creates some separation. And knowing that he can run strong, I mean, 250 is still a super strong run. And he can do some things. I think he still has some potential in the sport, Jer.
Good. Now, what about Taylor Knibb? Did she set a course record?
She set a course record as well.
For, what was it, 422, 23, 420, somewhere in that range?
I think it was, 420. But that's another thing that I think a little smarter racing on her part on the bike. She put in a huge effort on the bike, and she got off, and it was I think it just depleted her too much. We know how fast Taylor can run the marathon, right? She's done it in the past. But I think because the dynamics of that course, the same thing. You pull to the front, you're not getting away. You're just burning matches, and you get off the bike. It's a hot, humid run, and it takes its toll. I mean, she's still a respectable performance.
Similar to Cam, did she set strategy with him before?
I didn't talk. I know. They should both talk to me. And Cam is probably telling Taylor, call Coach Jim because he'll lay it on the line and tell you what you need to do next.
Who is coaching Taylor Knibb? Do you know?
No. Do you? No idea. But that's a course like Coach Gerry. You should have talked to these guys beforehand because all tactics. That course is tactics. Taylor, I didn't watch it every single second of the bike race, but I just assumed she went to the front and pulled the group for the most part. She could have sat in a little bit, saved some energy, and then used the run as the weapon that she has instead of getting off, having burned so many matches and kind of faltered to Kat Matthews.
Who were the brothers, and I don't know why the name is slipping me. No, good call. There were two of those, but the two guys who, one of them is the announcer does the swim at Ironman a lot, and then his other brother, they're both done Ironman races, and then his other brother had Kona's course record on the bike. The Leedo brothers.
You got Matt Leedo. You watch that guy, it's every other word. Oh, sorry, Matt. So we're friends with Matt. He's a good guy.
You remember when Chris Leedo went 4:23 or 24 at Kona, breaking the course record, and that was like, wow.
Yeah.
Because the good bikes back then in the men were in the 430s, right?
Yeah.
And he went into the 420s, this is what Taylor Knibb's doing.
Right.
This is the Katie Ledecky of riding and triathlon.
You know, that's a good point to bring up Leedo, because you look at Leedo, you look at Starkowitz, you look at these guys who were Uber bikers back in the day. And they never had confidence to ride a little less, which would allow them to have a little stronger run. They always came off, I got the biggest, you know what, because I got off the bike first, and then everybody would just right by on the run. But if they scaled back the bike effort a little bit, having confidence that, hey, if I scale the bike effort back, I'm such a strong bike cyclist, I'm going to save so much energy, I'm going to be able to get on the run and really have a strong marathon. But it's the confidence that they never could tap into that was the right tactic.
Although Leedo did have one Ironman. I mean, I think Leedo got second or third.
I'm not saying he crapped the bed on the run.
No.
He still had a good run, but I think he could have actually won these races if he had a little more confidence to, hey, back the bike down a little bit,
right,
and it'll give me a little more energy to hang on the run.
Well, that's what's going on in Kona now, right? It becomes just a overbiked. To me, it seems. Anyway, we can deal with that as we get closer to Kona. And then finally, Kat Matthews. Right?
Yeah, no, not shortchanging.
How did she do?
I mean, she had an amazing race. She put together a solid performance, and I think if we were going to go
fastest Ironman, female Ironman.
That's what I'm saying. She, like you said earlier, swim, bike, run. Right? She swam, bike, ran. She had great tactics down. She probably sat in on the bike a little bit, allowed other athletes to not, pull her along legally, and then got off feeling good and could use that run to her strength.
I mean, that may be a faster course, but the point is the times that these girls and guys are doing. These are the times that we're winning men's races.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Well, I just keep looking at Cam's marathon time. At 2:50, he dropped 8 places. And it's just what these guys are running right now off the bike. And a lot to do is with tactics. A race like that, you can save a ton of energy on the bike. You're not pushing the uphills. Like St. George this weekend's a total different race, right? The 70.3 North American Championships, because there's so much undulation.
Yes.
Someone takes a risk and they break away on Snow Canyon. They're burning a lot of matches. That's going to crush them, right? They're going to get off the bike.
It's going to be a fun weekend.
They're going to, I mean, they're going to feel it. So tactics are huge this weekend too, but there's a lot more on the line if you're willing to take a risk on the bike because it's so much more depleting.
So, hey, I want to say girl power here. I mean, it's Gretchen Walsh, it's Katie Ledecky, it's Kate Matthews, it's Taylor Knibb. I mean, it's pretty freaking extraordinary what we're seeing.
Yeah.
So that leads us into Kona.
Oh boy!
I want your thoughts on
big news.
So the big news. Why don't you deliver the news?
Well, they announced that in 2026 they're going back to a one-day format with men and women both in Kona, same day, sometime in October. So it was all the news. I saw it shared 1,000 times, and I say, "Why? You're the 1,000th person sharing this thing.
Right.
Why is that 1,000th person? We all have seen it already, right?" So it's interesting because I'm hearing from both sides because it's a percentage, right? So you get men is the more of the percentage of Ironman entries.
What's the issue? Let's identify the issue.
So there's a few issues.
Up.
Number one, they're bringing it all back to Kona. People weren't happy going to Nice. Half the field would go to the Nice. The men would go to the Nice. The women would be in Kona. The next year, the women would be in Nice. The men would be in Kona.
Right.
So people weren't happy being split, especially if there was a husband and wife doing it. So people didn't want to go to Nice. They wanted to go to Kona.
Let's back up from there. So I'm going to interview you again.
Yes, bring it on.
When that announcement was made a few years ago, were you in agreement with it? Did you think this was a good idea? Let's try this.
Now this is
just
I'm
you.
the athlete. I'm the coach. Gerry, this is the World Championships. I don't care where it's at. If it's a World Championships, get ready for it and go race it. Right? You don't say the Super Bowl is in Detroit this year. I'm not going to go do it in Detroit because I want to go to a nice balmy conditions in South Florida. I want to go to Miami.
So wherever your point is, wherever it is, it doesn't really matter once all the key high-performance athletes are there.
Exactly. If it's the World Championship, you say, if it's in Nice, I'm going to go to Nice and compete in the World Championship. Are you going for a vacation or are you going to compete in the World Championship?
I hadn't thought of that. I like it. I was against it.
Well, it's not the Mecca, right? It's not the Mecca. It's not.
And that's why you don't hold the Indianapolis 500 in North Dakota. You don't have the New York Stock Exchange in San Francisco. We can go on and on, right? So that was my take. We should have left it in Kona. But let's go ahead.
That was my original take. My original take was everything happens in Kona. That's where it's meant to be.
Yes.
But you got to realize that the logistics didn't work out. Ironman couldn't figure it out. So they said, okay, we're going to have one world championship here. We're going to have one world championship
Well, let's
there.
be fair at Ironman. Could they not figure it out? Or they tried to have it. They had 2 days, a women's race in one day, right?
Yeah.
And then the men's race in another day. And I think they got a little, if I'm not mistaken, I don't have all the facts from Ironman, but I think they got a little pushback from the city. Too many people in town. complaints from community.
They tried it. I wasn't saying it as a detriment, as a bad thing about Ironman. They couldn't work it out with Kona to have a single day event with all those athletes in town. They just didn't have enough space. So they said, we're going to switch it. Half go to Nice, half go to Kona. And it's not the Mecca, right? Nice is a beautiful place, but it's not, gorgeous. Doesn't have the lore.
Yeah,
I loved it. I watched it. I had a blast doing it. But watching it. But what I say as an athlete, as a coach, people want to complain about everything. If it's a world championship and you want to compete against the best, that's where you got to go, right? And, if it's Nice, it's Nice. If I want to go on a vacation, I'm going to go to Italy on a vacation. If I'm going to go race the best in the world and they tell me go to Nice, I'm going to go to Nice. Okay,
so the one issue was that, so we've identified that all the world champions, or the best of the best going to it. So now we're back to Kona. What's the issue that's coming up now that we're hearing out?
So now there's, let's just round the numbers out. So 70% of Ironman entries are male. 30, it's not exactly 70. I think it's like 68, maybe 72.
Generally, two-thirds male, third female at Ironman races globally, apparently,
70% male, 30% female. Okay. So Ironman is taking that structure, and that's how they're, because they can't fit equal men and equal women. They can't fit 2,500 men and 2,500 women like they were doing in Nice and Kona.
What's the total number of entries that are being allowed into Kona?
What was it, 3,000, 3,500?
So if it's 3,000, is the argument that it should be 1,500 men and 1,500 women? Is that the argument?
That's what I've read some articles that should be 50-50.
Okay. So, but entrance-wise, you only have approximately two-thirds, one-third male to female. Right. And then for Kona, it's 80-20. From what I've read.
80-20, okay.
So it's 80% male, 20% female. But the argument is, or the position from women, and I'm sure men also, well, let's have equal representation. Is that correct?
Right, exactly.
Equal number of men and women.
That's the argument.
And what's your take on it?
I mean, so I was talking to an anonymous source.
Now, you are Switzerland, so I'm going to,
He wasn't anonymous when I was speaking to him. He didn't tell me to keep him anonymous. But so he was at a race a couple months ago, and he went to the midnight finish, right? He went to the midnight finish. Yeah. And he saw the last finisher, 16 hours and 59 minutes and 30 seconds, right?
Yes.
The woman comes in at 16 hours, 50, and Tom Zebard, whoever was announcing that race, last finisher, everybody cheers her in. She crosses the finish line. So finishes, takes the pictures, gets the medal, all that stuff. The next day, this person who's telling me about this said, I was at the awards banquet, and I saw this athlete afterwards, came up to me, gave a hug, we took a photo, and I was talking to her, and she said, you'll never guess, I got a roll down spot to the world championships, right? So it had rolled all the way down to the very last finisher. Yep. And I think this is what the split format was doing, was really, it was allowing more people the opportunity to go to world championships, but if you want to go race an Ironman, you can pay your money and go race an Ironman. This is the World Championships, right? You got to be top of the top to get there. And I think what we were doing what Ironman was doing by allowing these two separate locations to have equal amount was really just watering down that competition. So I think Ironman is taking a hit financially by not allowing half and half, but they're making the competition better to get there.
So I don't know if they're taking a hit financially, because if you're going to have 3,000 people and you're going to fill the field at 3,000, it doesn't matter if it's 80-20 men or 50-50 men, women, right?
But if they have 2,500 in Nice and 2,500 in Kona, that's
absolutely
more, right? 2,000 more.
Yes, correct. You have more athletes, but what we don't know, we don't see their financials. We don't know what the economies of scale are by having everything at one location. So there's a cost to going to another location and so on. So we don't know that, but we do know they had more athletes at two locations, right? Now we're back to one location, and the argument that's coming up, and I've heard it many times, I've heard it from some of our athletes, I've gotten notes about it. Some women are unhappy. Yeah. They want equal representation as far as if you're going to have 50 men in the 45 to 49 men's age group, you got to have 50 women. Yeah. And your take on that is?
I think that it's not enough women to go one-to-one. It's not, you're not able to fill the field with you can get the one-to-one, but it's not going to be the competitive field that you would get if you went with the percentages like they're doing, right? So you're going to have, if you take 50 men and 50 women, the 50 women, 30% of that field is going to be on the competitive end of things at the World Championship quality. The rest, they're out there competing. Nothing against that, but is that the world championship caliber that these top end women want to compete against?
You and I are saying the same thing. I'm just not as nice as you are. I do not think, and I apologize to women that are going to be very unhappy about this, it is the world championship. There is a qualifying standard to get to the world championship in every single sport. And a world championship should not have, it also depends on how you define equality too, right?
Yeah.
If in the example we just used of 50 women and 50 men in the 45 to 49 age group, but really you're letting 25 men or 25 women in who don't meet qualifying standard, okay? They're not of national or international quality athletes into a race. This is no longer a world championship event. Yeah. This is an event that you can just get into because they've awarded a certain number of slots to get in. You are diluting the value of a world championship event. So I get it that Kona is the pinnacle for many athletes, but you have to deserve and earn the right to get to a world championship, not because you're female, and definitely not because you're male either.
Yeah.
The point is, we've diluted the world championship, but I think Ironman totally diluted the world championship qualitatively by having an alternative location with equal number of women. Mm-hmm. All you did was sort of sold world championship spots.
Yeah.
Slots is what you did. I can make an argument that was a financial decision, but it doesn't help women, okay? It doesn't help. Now, you can make an argument that, well, if you had more slots, you'd encourage more people into the sport and so on. Well, it hasn't.
Yeah.
It still hasn't, because you've given roll-down slots. You've done this, and it hasn't. The reality is, for whatever reason, men, and I'm not in favor of this is not my position, but men want to do more endurance events than women. I think women are smarter than men, because I don't know why the F men are doing 8 to 12-hour races or 15-hour races anyway. Yeah. So at a rate of 20%, I'm saying that 80% of the women decided not to do the Ironman events. They're probably smarter than men. Yeah. We don't even know the long-term health consequences yet of doing super endurance events like this. So I'm not buying it. Yeah. And I would be arguing, by the way, the same on the other side. If it was a sport that had more women in it and men were saying, well, we should get equal representation, well, sure. If you're of the caliber to get to a world championship.
Well, let's play with that.
It's a matter of sending quality athletes. It is a world championship. This is not just open the door for, no.
Right. Well, I mean, take a sport that women are mainly partake in. Let's say, I don't know, what's a sport women primarily partake in?
Ballet,
right?
I think.
Top. Say we got the Ballet World Championships, and you take the top ballet. It's a good
I don't even know if it is, because there are many men that do ballets. So I may not be right.
Let's say ballet is dominated. Let's say it's 70-30, right? You take the top 100 ballerinas. They fight their tails off to get in there, and then you take that top 100 ballerinos, and I
like that, ballerinos.
Joe Schmo from Calabasas Tennis and Swim Center, who takes it 2 times a week, is getting into 100. I think the women would be kind of insulted. They say, I work my tail off, I barely got in here, and this guy who does it on the weekends for fun and doesn't practice their life away.
And a woman, to your point, on a woman who deserved to go to that world championship ballet can no longer go, right? She can't go because a guy got it. There's to go.
Space for him.
So we're not there yet on the women's front of the sport at an Ironman level for equal representation. Yeah. If equality needs to be 50-50, perhaps equality means to be, in this case, proportionality, right?
Yeah.
You have this many women in the sport and this many men, so proportionally, this is how you do it.
Right.
But a male going 16 and a half hours in the 40 to 44 age group shouldn't be going to the World Championships.
Right.
If you can roll down and get a slot and you're a 16:30 Ironman athlete, you got to draw a line there somewhere. The guy shouldn't be going either.
Yeah.
It's the World Championship. This is not Ironman Podunk Town. This is Kona.
Yeah.
This is the real deal.
Yeah, and we're not saying that
if you want to hold World Championships as a North Star of performance.
And we're just looking at historical data over the last few years of where it has rolled down to for these athletes accepting. I'm sure there's going to be races where there's 5 great females in the 40 to 44 age group, and 2 of them don't get a spot, and they might have to go do another race. But we're just saying from the historical data from the last couple of years, it's been rolling down pretty far down the women's ranks. So they're cinching it up. They're making it that world championship event, and we'll see how it plays out. They can always adjust from here, but I think one thing, what's nice that Scott LaRue is doing is he's experimenting and he's making changes and listening to the athletes and listening to what they want to do.
I'm a big fan of Ironman. I've enjoyed seeing their changes. They've evolved, and they're continuing to evolve. And none of us, Jim, nail it in life on the first try, right? For the most part.
Of course. We nailed this podcast on the first try. Come on, 132 episodes now. But hey, if you have any thoughts, write them in the YouTube comments. Let's talk about it.
Beat up on me, because I know I'm going to get beat up on for this.
Yeah, I'm sure we'll have, there's a few athletes I can think of right now who are typing as we speak.
Yeah.
All right, we're running pretty long here, but I know you want to touch on, what do you want to touch on next? You want to go into the
I want to do a little, do we even have time? I want to talk about USA Swimming.
Let's talk about USA Swimming, and then we'll run through a swimmer video, and then we'll call it.
So I think we have a problem at USA Swimming.
Oh, boy.
And I want this to be more of a sound to encourage change, to motivate change, than me sounding like a complainer, but I got to complain a little bit. Jim, do you have those stats? I sent you a sheet yesterday.
Let me find
if we can put this up.
See where it's at. I think this is the one. Let me get it. There we go. Okay, here we go.
Let me blow that up so we can, whoever's looking here can get a look at this. This is a sheet that Jim's going to post that I put out yesterday. I went to the governing body, or the international body for swimming. It's called FINA, F-I-N-A, and they produce rankings together with other organizations. They produce top rankings every year of top swimmers in all the different events, 50 freestyle all the way up to the 1,500 meter freestyle. That's the longest pool event in swimming at the Olympic Games. So on the furthest left column, you'll see countries, and you'll see USA in order. I put them USA, Japan, Italy, Australia, blah, 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 all the way down to the Netherlands, okay? And the yellow highlight next to it is the top 100 1,500 meter times in the world in 2024. So the ranking of the fastest 100 times in the world, men, in 2024, last year. I used the most current data, okay? You'll notice out of the top 100, the United States men, we have 14 of the top 100 times. 14% belong to the United States. Japan, then 12%. Italy, 7. Okay. Go across, women, Jim, we have 23 of the fastest women in the world in the 1,500 meters in the pool. Katie Ledecky being at the top, right? 23%. Almost 1 out of every 4 women in the world are swimming their fastest in the United States. This is all the other countries. Look down the list there. Japan has 5. Italy has 9. Australia 6. You go all the way down. Let's look at Netherlands at the bottom. 0. Let's look at Netherlands at the bottom again. Men, 1. So out of the top 100 men and top 100 women, the Netherlands have 1 person that made the list of the top.
It's the 1,500 long course meter freestyle.
Yes, considered the distance event, the premier distance event in swimming. Okay. Now, if you're doing a selection for a world championship open water race, coaches nationally and internationally would go to their 1,500 meter athletes, and they would probably use that as some sort of selection, because those are your athletes that are endurance-trained athletes. Now, let's go to the column on the total medals. It's the second from the far right. Total medals.
Total Olympic medals.
This is total Olympic medals. Open water swimming, 10 kilometers, got into the Olympics in 2008. We've had 5 Olympiads. So 5 Olympiads means we've had a total of 30 medals. Gold, silver, bronze in each Olympiad. Times 5, times 3, 15, men and women, 30 total medals, right? Total medals, United States has won 1 medal out of 30. 1 out of 30.
Even though we have all those athletes.
We have all these athletes. We've won 1 medal. It's a silver medal. Let's go to the bottom of the list. Netherlands, 1 athlete. Now the United States has, added up, 37 athletes ranked, okay, in the top 100. Netherlands has 1 athlete ranked. They have 5 Olympic medals, 4 gold, 1 silver.
Wow.
Okay? Look at some of these other countries. Look at Great Britain. 1 gold, 2 silver, 1 bronze. Look through the list. Hungary, 3 gold medals, 1 silver medal. They got 4 people in the top 10 men, only 6 in women. What are we not doing relative to other countries? The only other country that's worse than us is Japan. as far as pool events and not performing.
Well, it looks like Japan's on the, they're not as high as we are. Do you want to keep this on here? Or you want to move it up?
You can move it up.
They're not as high as we, but they're in the top. They're top, right under us, right? They have 17 total athletes in the top 100 of men and women. No medals.
No medals.
Right. So is that a trend? Is that something that's telling us, hey, there's something between these two countries? They're doing a similar thing wrong than.
Or they're totally not focusing on that event. I'm going to say to United States Swimming, you guys have an opportunity, such a tremendous opportunity to make change. I'm going to give you one big reason to do it, one of the biggest reasons to do it. You go to the Olympic Games, Jim, we all sit down there generally in the first week of the Olympics. They're going to change it for 2028 because I heard swimming is now going to be the second week rather than the first week. But historically, swimming is the first set of events on the agenda at the Olympic Games. We all spend that first week watching swimming events on TV, 1 hour every night, right? They do a highlight of the finals. And you get all these events every night, and we watch the Americans win a lot of medals usually, right?
Yeah.
Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, 5 or 6 nights in a row, 1 hour each night approximately. So we get 5 or 6 hours of coverage, and we're proud of how our athletes do. 6 hours of coverage. Now, I could be wrong, add in, sometimes it's an hour and 15 minutes, whatever it may be, but approximately 6, maybe even 7 hours. And a lot of events, the 50, the 100, the 200, all these different strokes, tons of events. We only have one event in open water, 10 kilometers, male and female, 2 races. It eats up 5 hours of airtime. 2 hours for the event, 15 minutes lead up, 15 minutes for other people to finish off, award ceremony, blah, blah, blah. You have approximately 5 hours of airtime. You almost have equal representation of airtime, okay?
Yeah.
And you are not using that smartly to, one, promote your event, because they're announcers. No hit to you, Rowdy, but you don't know anything about open water swimming. Lovely guy, great at pool events. Okay.
He's excited too. Guy's excited.
Excited. Guy, I think at times he's going to pee his pants. But he doesn't know anything about open water. So you got the wrong guy doing open water, or he needs to receive education on learn the sport so he can convey the message, so we can encourage more people from the United States at a minimum to be involved in open water.
Yeah.
But you have the opportunity to sell your sport nationally, globally, but nationally, sell your sport to your athletes. 5 more hours of airtime, you're not using it effectively. So that's one big reason to do it. But let's go to some of the reasons I think you guys have problems here. I cited reason number 1. There's the data, guys. USA Swimming, those are the hard facts. You can't argue with them. Those are the numbers. You can massage them however you want. I happen to choose 2024 to use it. You can go back and pick another year and maybe get lesser or more people in the top 100. However you choose to use it, end result is still the same. You got 1 medal, 1 out of 30. 1 out of 30 athletes. 1 athlete out of 30 has gotten a medal at the Olympic Games in the 10-kilometer race, men and women, for the United States out of 5 Olympiads. This is a poor performance by America that has so many terrific distance swimmers. So now we go to the why. Why is this the case? And I'm going to give you guys 2 quick reasons why that you need at the national level to work on. 2 quick reasons. These are not the only reasons, but I'm going to give you 2 off the top of my head. Number 1, you have an administrative or a coaching problem at the head of the snake, where there is a lack of education. There's a vacuum of education that's missing on the knowledge that's required to coach and race open water. You guys have it in pool swimming. You have it for the 50 freestyle. You have it for the 100 butterfly. Gretchen Walsh has shown it to us. Katie Ledecky has shown it to us. But we do not have it in open water swimming. Otherwise, you would have a different performance. Number 2, you owe it to your athletes. Here's the bottom line. Those athletes that go race, they lay their dreams at your doorstep, you the coaches and you the administrators, to provide them the best opportunity to perform at an elite level and win a medal. You've not done your due diligence on how to do your job well to help those athletes do the best that they can do. I'm not blaming this on the athletes. There's some blame because at the end of the day, you have responsibility for how you're going to perform as an athlete, but you're relying on your coaches, you're relying on your administrators, and we have a vacuum of knowledge in the United States, open water swimming, that needs to be filled if we want to be competitive. 1 out of 30 medals is abysmal for the United States of America.
Yeah, and you might look, we're successful. Look at all the guys in the top 100. We're successful. What's the ultimate measure of success? It's those Olympic medals, right?
That's right.
What are you doing to win those Olympic medals? Because it's obviously not transferring. So what are you going to change to win those Olympic medals? And we can go down a whole rabbit hole of what that's going to take, what kind of changes, but there has to be something that's changed.
And I'm going to give an example of specificity or where specificity is needed. I used to coach, or we both coached at the Pacific Palisades High School, right? Right next to when Team Santa Monica swam, and Jordan Wilimowski swam and had his coach there, and he, I believe, even won a medal, maybe in the 1500. Did he get a bronze medal, perhaps, in the 1500 meters at the Olympics? And did not get a medal in open water, but has done well in open water, but still couldn't medal. He had no good knowledge on racing tactics, on poor positioning. You do not take a guy that's as short as he is and as little as he is and have him in the positions in the pack that he got himself into. There are tactical, race-savvy positions, athletic IQ that we need to teach athletes to raise their athletic IQ that we are not doing. Jordan should have performed better. Many of our athletes, these women that have been terrific in the pool and did pretty decent in open water, or won silver medal as a woman, have done well, but not well enough. Mm-hmm. We need to teach our coaches, you guys need to educate yourselves more on open water skill acquisition, specificity of training demands, on racing IQ.
Got to have that growth mindset, right?
Yep.
You can't just rest on your laurels. You can't have that fixed mindset and say, hey, we're good. We'll go in the Olympics and we'll be fine. Obviously, that's not the case. How are you going to change to make things happen?
And this is a message specifically, a guy named Greg, I don't know, forget how to pronounce his last name, Mian, whatever, he's now left Stanford. Greg and I worked at UCLA together. Greg, you're now in charge, I believe, of high performance swimming at USA. Make a change. Identify, I'm happy to talk to you. I'll help identify the problem for you, implement change so we can be something at the world level.
I love it. Throw it out there, buddy. Throw it out there. All right. Gerry, Gerry at tower26.com. Gerry at tower26.com. Get in touch with them and let's figure this out. Let's win some medals. All right, let's get into what do you think? Some swimmer analysis while you got the iPad out. What do you think? You want to get into that?
Do we have time, or should we just take the questions, keep it more educational? What do you want?
Yeah. Let's do the videos next one. I know you got some queued up, but we're doing these regularly, so we can just bank them for the next one. But we had two questions coming in. Christy is over here. Christy Jones, one of our athletes and coaches, is over here talking to. She said she wants Jack to be the commentator on the Olympics. We want to keep. Well, it's good to have education, but we need a little more fire, and we need to teach Coach Jack a little bit of. A little energy in the voice.
Jack's the professor, right? I mean, he would be the great guy to get all the total details. Steve Minatonis would be outstanding because that guy, there's nobody that has more knowledge about open water swimming than Steve.
I think there's two guys that should be doing open water commentary.
Who are those?
One to keep it moving, the other one to give education.
Well, I could help, certainly.
Yeah, they're sitting right here. So here you go. We got Mike from Mike F from YouTube wrote, hey, good info. Question, I'm a 130-ish per 100 swimmer. I have a slow stroke rate, just under 60 strokes a minute. I think you finally convinced me to get a tempo trainer. Once I've narrowed it down, how should my progression be to get my stroke rate a little faster? Say I'm at 58 per minute. Should I try speeding up by going 59, 60? How many beats progression, and how long should I stay at each beat?
Yeah, what was his name?
That is Mike.
Mike.
F.
Hey, Mike, a terrific question. And 60 or 58 is not a slow cadence rate, by the way. It's about in line with your 130 pace. You sort of have these ranges for athletes at certain performance levels that equates a range of cadences. So you'll see super elite athletes. That's why they have higher cadences. They're elite, so they have high cadences. And as you come down in performance, your level, 56, probably up to 64 for your level. And as you get down to the 145, 2 minutes per 100, you start seeing in the 50s. Good question. The point is, how do we fix it? So on your tempo trainer, you'll notice there are two buttons at the bottom, the right button and the left button. The right button toggles the beeps upward, so higher cadence. The left button moves it downward, and the top button just turns the tempo trainer. It sets the mode. We want to be on mode 3 for what we do. And then in your case, what you would do if, let's say, make it easy discussion, 60 is your number. You would move that up on your main sets, and main sets where you are performing at your optimal performance that's sustainable for a half Ironman, okay? So your half Ironman effort should be 80 to 85% of maximum heart rate. Something that's sustainable, if that's equal to 60 strokes a minute, move it up 5%, which would be 3 buttons up, 3 depresses of the right button, to 63. That's 5% of 60. Am I correct, Jim?
Yeah.
63. And you need to stay there for about a minimum of 10 workouts. and you should be working out or should be swimming 3 times a week for a minimum of 45 minutes. When we do things approximately 10 times, which is approximately 3 weeks, you'll start seeing adaptation. Once adaptation occurs, you let that settle in for a short period, and then you can move it up again, approximately 5% every 3 weeks. That's the soonest you should move it up. So you can get to 63, 66. It might take you several months to get there.
And you got to keep counting those strokes per length, because if you keep bumping it up, but the stroke rate goes up, you got to consciously make sure you're gripping that water. You're not becoming inefficient. So it's really easy to keep upping the number, but you got to make sure the efficiency stays. So count those strokes per length and make sure you're not just spinning your arms.
And as Katie showed us, cadence rates, it's another tool to be utilized, especially in open water.
All right, second question comes from SJDJ3000. It says, long distance pool and open water champion Florian Wellbrook does front quadrant stroke. No? Question mark? Because I think last episode we were talking about don't worry about front quadrant stroke.
Right.
Florian
yeah.
Wellbrook does
the man, terrific 1,500, 800-meter swimmer.
Beautiful. We use it
beautiful,
as an example
gorgeous
all the time in our 2 p.m. call.
Yeah. 6'5", 6'6", maybe. I mean, this is a beautiful swimmer. Now, athletes that do front quadrant swimming, you guys, they've earned the right to do front quadrant swimming, and these are your lead pack athletes. The power that they generate beneath the surface of the water, and the direct answer to your question is yes, he does use front quadrant swimming, but he's earned the right to be able to do that. He has no dead spots in his velocity. If you put a velocity reading on him, we'll notice his graph is fairly narrow in amplitude. His velocity probably sits in a range like this as opposed to peaks and valleys. Once you have peaks and valleys, and that would typically occur with people who have front quadrant swimming but are slower swimmers. You'll see these deep canyons because their velocity decreases tremendously when one hand is sitting out front, the other hand's coming over. There's nothing giving them any forward momentum because, one, they have low cadence rates. 2, they don't generate much power. So you don't deserve the right to have a front quadrant stroke if you want performance. If you want beauty and elegance, keep your front quadrant stroke. You're just never going to swim fast if you're a slower rate swimmer. But faster swimmers like Florian Wellbrook, they can keep their front quadrant strokes with one caveat. Those strokes work really well in calm waters. And you put them into rough waters, they don't work as well. So you need another tool of a different type of stroke.
And I think another thing, we get so caught up in all this lingo. We teach, or we talk about front quadrant swimming. We just call it the setup and the propulsion, right? The setup is that front quadrant, but these guys like Florian who have so much hypermobility, they can get into that, what they call front quadrant. If you're a triathlete and can barely lift your arms over your head, you're not going to get that type of flexibility to get into the front quadrant, but you can still set up and propel, right? This is the front quadrant, set up and propel, but you can't try and mimic these guys who've been doing it their whole life and done all the little things over the years to increase that mobility and that flexibility to get their arm to the top of the surface to the front quadrant.
And we should probably get in another episode, Jim, into more about the specifics of front quadrant because it is an elegant looking swim stroke. I mean, it is beautiful looking with one hand sort of gliding at the surface and the other one sitting there. It's poetry. However, if you don't have good power, you're not going fast.
Yeah.
And if you don't have a wetsuit on, well, it's going to be a bad day for you.
And if you're trying to get that arm way too high, you're going to be pulling everything out of alignment. It's just, we can go do more on it. We can show some video examples, and we'll show Florian. But, Gerry, really good stuff. I know we didn't do the workout of the episode.
Yeah, I took over your job, man. I talked too much today.
I love it. You have to have a drink of water. You have that cotton mouth that I always get. Go to coaching.tower26.com. We have all the workouts of the episode. We're in the sharpening phase. We're going to get into the race-ready phase pretty soon, so join along. We always cover all the tautness, alignment, propulsion, and it's all geared towards your specific ability level. So go to coaching.tower26.com. Check that out. Gerry, anything else from you?
Thank you as always, Jim. And USA Swimming, this is not a hit against you. This is a hit to encourage you to pull your socks up and let's do a freaking great job for 2028.
Keep sending those videos, GERRY at tower26.com. If you just want to say hi, Jim at tower26.com. You can follow Tower26, Jim Lubinsky on Instagram. But keep all the communication going. Thanks for the questions on YouTube. Thanks for tuning in. And for Gerry Rodriguez, Jim Lubinsky, the Tower 26B Race Ready Podcast. Thanks, guys. Bye.